Welcome to this episode of the QI Podcast. I am one of your hosts, DJ 10th Power.
And I'm your host, DJ Duce. This is episode 2, season 2.
Season 2.
Kicking off. We starting off good. We in the Lion's Den.
Yes, sir.
First episode here.
Yep.
What's new, bro?
Let's start out with what's happening in locally here in York, PA. They got this residency thing that's going down where if you work for the city or work for the city government, rather, you have to actually live in the city. What's your position on that?
I mean, I know it was implemented years ago because they wanted people to actually be involved in the city, I guess, that worked in the city.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2020 now.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, do you still want people to be involved actively in the city? Yes. So, I don't know. Could it impact? It could, but I believe that people's best interest, I just think that it's just silly in today's day and age. I mean, what do you think?
Especially in the case of the fire chief, which is one of the main topics that's going down in the city. From what I understand, he's done an outstanding job, or I think he's the acting fire chief. He's been doing an outstanding job. He's been at every fire. He hasn't missed a thing. He lives just outside of the city. His family's, already rooted at where they're at. If he's never missed anything, I don't understand what the problem is.
Right. I mean, as long as he's doing his job right and everything is good, I mean, what's the issue?
What's the issue? Exactly. I get it, like, especially with cops. I know that certain people want, if you're working in the city, that they should be a part of the city. I think to a certain amount that's true, that you should be more involved with your community. Can you be involved with the community that you're patrolling or representing or protecting and live outside the city? I think you can do both.
Right. And what happens anyway in a lot of places is you won't get a lot of local cops that live in the city, so then you're short on the department. So guess what they end up doing anyway? They end up reaching out to people that live outside anyway to get people they need on the force. So who cares? And
if you got a desk job, who cares?
Right.
If you're in the city or not, what difference does that make? If I'm just a typist for the mayor or a receptionist for the mayor, does it really matter whether or not I'm in the city? Right. And what if you live 2 minutes outside of the city?
Right. Yeah, you live around the corner, you're not in the city limits, so you can't do this, you can't work here, like, come on.
Exactly. Yeah. At
the end of the day, we all pay taxes.
Right. Exactly. And I believe if you have 200 some odd people that are already working for the city government and not living in the city, and you only have 90 some odd people that are being held to this rule, I don't why the double standard.
Right.
To me it's a little ridiculous. I think you're also maybe risking a lawsuit here, because it's almost like some type of discrimination where you give these certain kind of people this freedom and you're holding these other kind of people to this standard. It just doesn't seem right.
Right. It seems discriminatory. Like you're holding this group of chief has to be the part of that, has to meet these certain criteria to work this job, but this job over here, they don't have to do this. They don't have to live here, and they're fine. It's like it's either for everyone or it's not for everyone. So,
Agreed.
But I think there's a lot more pressing issues in the city that we need to be worried about, other than
Amen.
Who's living where. So,
and we need to get, one of our goals is to get city council here to discuss some of those issues. The roads to me here are horrible.
Yeah, well, Pennsylvania roads in general, I mean, we have the worst bridges in the United States of America. So,
wow, that I didn't know.
Yes, okay. So everything's just falling apart, and you get PennDOT or whoever's working out there on these jobs. Like the Mount Rose project has been going on, I think now for 4 years, 5 years, I don't know. It's been going on forever, and it's delayed. And I seen on the news that they're getting fined, I forget how much a day, because they're that far behind.
Speaking of PennDOT, when I moved out here and I'm converting my license and registration, the weirdest thing happened. You have this real ID thing happening in different states. Okay, so I converted my Maryland license to a Pennsylvania license, and I paid a $30.50 fee for that. You get a temporary license, then you get this your normal license, or I should say interim license. Then you get your hardcore license. Now, then I had to go for my real ID. So now I had to pay a whole nother $60 to get just the real ID. So it's like, really? Like, why am I paying another fee? You see, my license is good. Okay, all I'm getting attached is the real ID. Why am I paying a fee for that? So now I got 3 licenses, all Pennsylvania, in a span of 2 weeks.
Okay, so do you know what real ID is to begin with?
No.
Okay, so real ID is implemented. Basically, real ID is only needed in PA for if you're going to fly. If you're not going to fly, real ID is really not needed at all. And
acts as a passport.
Right, and you're military, so you still have military ID, so it's not needed. So
I basically wasted my money.
Yes.
Wow.
You heard that, ladies and gentlemen.
And in Maryland, when I converted to the real ID, I don't recall getting charged.
This is Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You're getting charged.
Wow.
And it's sad. I mean, it's like everyone else converted to this real ID thing, I want to say 3 to 4 years ago. And I guess And
the deadline is October of this year.
And we were one of the last states to go along with it. So I think it's dumb. If you look at all the IDs now, they all look alike.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's a national database for IDs now,
mm-hmm.
which kind of creeps me out, I'm not going to lie, because it's almost like the states were responsible for implementing and doing their own systems, and now it's all just one big system.
I think more stuff is going to wind up going on to this kind of thing, because I think what's going to wind up, the black stripe on the back of the licenses, I think you're going to be able to get more information on or off of that. And I think that's what they're moving towards.
Right, and I'm not jumping to conspiracies or anything on the show, but do you think...
feel free.
Do you think down the road that they might try to implement, like, even with like that card and maybe turning your actual... Because think about it, the driver's license over the years are now getting more sophisticated as money is, everything. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that maybe down the road that this could actually be your credit card? This can be your ID, credit card, like
has your blood type on there, and all your
everything.
information, medical information, all of that will be on this one card. Yeah, I absolutely believe that I may not see all of it while I'm on this earth, but I think that's going to be the transition. I think.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's where we're headed.
Yeah, I think we're also going to see more cameras. I think we're going to see on the streets. I think we're going to see more drones, and I think we're going to see more privacy invaded.
Oh yeah, the invasion of privacy. Like, just think about it over the years. Like back in the '60s and '70s,
mm-hmm.
and you just jump up through like 10-year spans. You can't go anywhere in 2020 without something watching you,
mm-hmm.
whether it's a drone, a camera, or a person's phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tell you, it's amazing how late we were to the boat as far as speed cameras and everything. Because when I was stationed out in Germany in '88, they were already on that. They were already in place, which means they were there before I even got there in '88. It didn't take me long to get a ticket for either going too fast in one area or thinking that the light is yellow and the camera's reading it as red, and you see that flash and you got.
Right.
It took the U.S. longer to move to having speed cameras, and I'm wondering why are we late to that ship? How did Europe beat us to that? Even with fashion, when I was out there, Milli Vanilli was the bomb already out there in Europe. It wasn't until I came back to the States in '90, and then they got hot in the U.S. It's like it was already played out to me by the time I got to New York. It was
right.
I'm like, man, we were jamming that 2 years back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they were already in '88 on the baggy jeans and everything, but they wore it a different way. Their way was. Our way was a style. It was baggy and it was big, but their thing was it was big, it was wide, and they would pull the belt tight to show a small waist, because that was their way of doing things. Mm-hmm. Ours was done a different way, but they to me, it just showed me how far ahead they were in so many things. I'm thinking like, wow, I'm thinking the U.S. a great country, right?
Right.
But we're behind on fashion. What we think is hot here, they already was there. At least when I was there during that time, they had already been there and was moving on to something else.
Right, and I think a lot of that falls on the fact that we rely on countries just for a lot of things in general, food, resources. So, of course, they're going to be ahead of us because they're supplying us like
But
with
we're
clothes.
supplying countries also, right?
Right, but not with like things that you've mentioned, like fashion and things of that nature. That's coming from most of the countries.
Yeah,
We're-
I mean, like even these tight suits and everything, Europe did
Right.
that already. They
Exactly.
set that style. That was the European style, and now we're on it.
right, yeah. The only thing we have over here anymore is
Music.
music, coronavirus, and a president whose hair is constantly falling off his head. So,
That just leads us into our next subject, Mr. Trump, who we can't avoid.
yes.
I know he's loved in Pennsylvania. I'll say he's loved and hated in Pennsylvania. I'm one of the haters. I don't understand where America has lost its sense of common sense. Whereas with any other president, and I know this guy was elected to do stuff different,
Right.
But he does things that we tell our own children not to do. He's this bully, he tweets out this stuff and he governs by tweeting. And if you remember at the beginning of his presidency, it was like, don't pay attention. He's not setting policy through tweets. And now he is.
Right.
And they switch it all the time. Oh, he was just joking. It wasn't serious. And then the next tweet, he was serious. So how are we supposed to know the difference?
Right. I think it's just a little weird that the president has access to Twitter like that anyway.
I agree.
You can tweet out any information you wanted. I mean, that's like an unfiltered thing. I mean, granted, it could be taken down, but how long is it going to be there before?
And somebody's always being able to find what has been taken down.
You know how quick the internet is, like, especially
Yes.
like with memes. I mean, they're just a bunch of people, I think, sitting by their phones just waiting.
Exactly. And to even add to that, man, I read a story, credit the story to MSN.com, about how the racism in schools, how it's gotten so much worse. I forget what schools this has happened in, but one school, kids formed a line and would not, they play like they was Trump's wall and would not let blacks or Mexicans or Spanish people, Latino people pass through this, they interlocked arms. Now, these are students at this school. So they're there to get their education, and you're going to do that.
Where's this at?
That's what I'm saying. I can't remember what school it was. I wanted to print out the article so I could be accurate, and I completely forgot to print out the article. But it's episodes like that. They say has gotten worse, either with the teachers harassing students, or students harassing students. And to be fair, students wearing "Make America Great Again" hats have also caught flack from students that are anti-Trump. But on a statistical basis, the racism is more against people of color than it is against somebody wearing a hat.
Right. I mean, and I think kids today follow too much social media.
Oh, yeah.
I think that has a lot to play a part of what goes on.
But racism is also a learned thing. I think these kids are getting it from their parents. I mean, if I'm 100% sure.
Right. I mean, like I said,
You follow a racist kid home, you're gonna have racist parents there.
Right. No, I agree. It's a really sad world, and like I said, it's really coming out over the years, and it's
not just kids. I read an article on MSN.com in Atlanta, white lady has I think it was two white daughters, I think it was, and her black coworker, she invited him over with his daughters for a play date. Their kids were going to play.
Mm-hmm.
The white lady was renting out the apartment that she stayed in. When her neighbors, the landlord saw this, they called her and said, you're a lover, and hung up. Then they knocked on the door after the black people left and said, we don't like on our property, and we want you out of here. We want you evicted. She moved out and then sued, and she wound up winning $150,000 in the lawsuit.
Wow.
Because of the racism.
Oh my. Yeah. Wow. That's just like I said.
I mean, really?
Like I said, it's different time and day and age now. Like, and we have so much other problems going on with
so much more bigger problems, right?
Mm-hmm. Like
homelessness is a big problem.
Yes.
I mean, because you're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Your people are not going anywhere. My people are not going anywhere. Mexicans are not going anywhere. All people that work hard, right, all earn money. We all bleed red blood. Mm-hmm. What's the problem?
I don't know.
It's you're never going to control the narrative with your race because nobody's going anywhere.
Right. Right.
I don't even, this nonsense with what Rush Limbaugh said about Pete Buttigieg, saying that America is not ready for a gay president, and Donald Trump is more manly. This the type that we need. One man cannot speak for what America is ready for. That's number one, because you don't know what America is ready for. You may not be ready for it, and speak for yourself. If you're being honest. But I don't care what Pete is. I don't care that he kisses a man. I don't care. That's none of my business. That's his business. And how God deals with him and that man that he's married to, that's how he handles it. Whatever it is, whether he lets him in the pearly gates or not. I do know this man defended my country, which means he protected me. And he did things that Trump himself did not do. So I ain't got no problem with him being the president. Now, is his policies, do I agree with his policies? I don't know them yet. So that's what I'm going to judge this man on, if I vote for him or not. What he stands for as far as, what he's running on.
Right. Yeah, not of what, I mean.
But if you're not going to vote for him just because he's gay, you're dumb.
I mean, I think that's going to be probably next now. If it ain't racism,
yeah, I'm sure there's people that's going to not vote for him because I'm sure that because that's so much this country. Ignorance is all over this place. Love this country, but it just does some dumb things.
Yeah, we're a bunch of spoiled.
Yes, that's spoiled is the word. Because going back to when I was in Germany, I'll never forget it. My first week there, I picked up a newspaper and there was pictures of garbage that Americans put in this beautiful homeland that we're visiting, and which is throwing off McDonald's bags anywhere. I was embarrassed, and it wasn't my trash, but I'm embarrassed because I'm an American in somebody else's country, and this is what we do.
Right.
I'm and proof positive. I'll never forget this. I'm on my way to work. I'm behind an SUV in Germantown, Maryland. And the passenger in the SUV rolls down the window, and we're passing a hospital. And they throw banana peels right out their car. They didn't care if anybody was on the sidewalk, who was behind them. Didn't care. They just roll down the window. Whoop, broad daylight, bro. Broad daylight.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow. I laugh every time I see that Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful. I laugh at the sign because,
yes.
I figure that's the first place that somebody's going to put trash when they see that sign.
Yep. And I think our country is just dirty in general. I mean, you go to other countries, and I've seen pictures, and
Germany was absolutely beautiful. You know, it's clean. It was beautiful. I agree with you.
Again, that goes back to us being spoiled bunch of pricks and taking things for granted. You know what I mean?
I was all over Europe, man, and everything was just nice, beautiful green grass, nice and clean, nice. Absolutely enjoyed it. I was blown away.
Right. We don't take what we have. We take what we have for granted.
Yes,
we definitely do.
Each other, our lives. You know, 2020, we should be getting a wake up call.
We definitely should, and stop all the hating, and just focus on yourself, and more importantly, stay in tune to what's going on out in the world, and more importantly, what's going on the podcast.
Amen. 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 Let's change the subject. Let's lighten it up a little bit. Lil Wayne.
Wayne, #1 album in the country.
Back on top.
Just like that. The album, as far as that goes, I listened to it. Mm-hmm. Not impressed. There's a few joints on there that I did like. All in all, I give the album 3 out of 5.
Okay. What do you say? What would you say you didn't like the most? What was the thing that didn't impress you the most?
I think Wayne's in the point of his career. Like, obviously, you can do whatever you want, but it's not more of the Wayne that I'm familiar with. I mean, you got a few tracks. It was more of a bouncy album to me. You had flows from this era of time, this era of time. So, it was a cool album, all in all. But
do you think? And I'm sure, after a while, an artist loses a certain hunger, right? And they got to be able to draw it from somewhere. And I think it's just hard for them to do it over an entire album anymore, especially if it's 15, 16, 17 songs, because you've attained a certain amount of success where every tour is sold out. You know, you could put out a garbage track and you see it go because, you know, your fans are going to clamor to it. So, you know, how do you get hungry from that?
I guess, I don't know. I don't know if you'll ever, I mean, I imagine you get hungry at some point. I mean, a lot of rappers go broke, but the same hunger that you like, the debut album hunger. I mean, you just compare a lot of artists to the artists now. There is no albums. You know, artists now are getting success off of singles as opposed to back then. You got to do a lot more to achieve that success, and I think that also leads to how easy the road to success is today compared to back then. You know what I mean?
And it's funny. I agree with you, but I'm sure people will say it's actually harder now because there's so much clutter out there.
Right. I mean, for instance, like Wayne with the original 5 and then the leak and all that, you get like a folder of songs. Who's picking your songs? Like Wayne, I believe he has someone picks his songs for him. Like, maybe you should start picking your own songs because you could have done better on that album. And I heard that if you would compile everything from the leak and the original onto a folder, my selection of, let's say, 50 tracks, my selection would have been completely different from what whoever chose their selection. So that matters too. Because at the end of the day, a lot of artists will get, you know, like a compaction of like 30, 40 tracks, and I want to put an album, and let's choose 12 out of the folder. But you miss one, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I also think you have to be honest and say, you have to be honest with yourself and say, this song is not hot. You know what I mean? You got to be self-disciplined and, you know, because I've listened to albums where it's clear that it's filler. You know what I mean? You're giving me trash. But there's certain artists that I can buy and I know I'm just not going to get filler from them.
Right. And I think a lot of the albums now compared to albums back then artists will literally, you know, lock themselves into the studio for an extended period of time. Like, they were in, you know, really working back then as opposed to now. You can record anywhere. Artists are on the road more, so they're jumping from studio to studio, recording songs here. So you're getting a lot of everything on an album now. As to back then, you were in one location working with the hand.
Much more discipline.
Right. And the quality of music,
goes with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we agree that we definitely can agree to that? So
Yeah.
I think that's what music in general today is lacking. Over to sports, the XFL. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't follow it totally. I caught some games from when it existed before. I caught one game last weekend. I'll probably catch some, this weekend, tomorrow rather. But I'm interested in it because I want to see who can navigate and make a name for themselves in the XFL to get into the NFL.
Right. Did you see that? I believe there was talks of trying to get Colin Kaepernick involved, but he wanted too much money or something.
I think they could have honestly seen that coming, though. I mean, you're talking to somebody that's former NFL. He's still in his prime. He's only 31, 32 years old. He could play for another 5 to 7 years if he wanted to. He's just been blacklisted. I think if he was serious about playing, and we've had this conversation, that he would show his stuff.
Right.
And so the question still is there. Does he really want to play?
Right. Now, do you think something like with the whole XFL, and do you think this would overcome the NFL in time being? Do you think it's something that would pick up, or because it was already done for in the past? This is more like a reboot.
Yeah, and here's the thing: they're on major networks, right? Mm-hmm. But when you watch the game, how sold out is that stadium?
Right.
Because you got to draw money. This is the problem with the WNBA. Even though it's still existing and they have a new collective bargaining agreement where the players they're getting more pay, there's still money. They still haven't turned a profit.
Right.
And they're the cheapest tickets. I have no problem watching women play. I love watching girls college basketball, women's pro basketball. I understand that there's going to be a women's football league. I'm going to support that. I would support the XFL. The ticket's only $20, and that makes it affordable to where the whole family can see. But right. I'm a special kind of breed of a person. Will more people come and gravitate to the XFL and will make it profitable? Because that's the only way it's going to last.
Right.
If it's profitable, that's the bottom line. If not, it's just going to...
Right, if people aren't buying the tickets and aren't tuning in, it's not going to go anywhere.
Vince McMahon is only going to bleed but so much money before he...
Right, cuts it off.
Yeah.
And
Johnny Manziel is already saying that this is a waste of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's been done before and it didn't work, so now why are you revisiting it again? So,
but he was a waste of time, so maybe people should pay attention to that because he would know about wasting people's time. But we're going to close it there, man. Hit us up. Let us know your opinion. The QI podcast, the QI.
The QI podcast
at gmail.com.
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We got to get... No, that's right. We can't get a Snapchat. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at the QI podcast. And most importantly, the website, www.qipodcast.com.
I am your host, DJ 10th Power.
And I'm your host, DJ Duce. And we'll see you on episode 3.
Peace.